Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Grow Your Strength. I'm going to start the program today with some face-up breathing and progress from there. This is the last week of this routine, so if you've been following along, expect a new training program next week. And thank you for following along. All right, so in the breathing position, take some time to just adjust your neck, so drawing your chin down to your collarbone, shoulders away from ears. What's the natural curve of your low back? If you have a big curve, you might be more comfortable with your knees bent. But if you can extend one or both legs out, then just adjust your back. Today, let's have the hands close to the top side there, close to your belly button. And as you settle into some slow, deep breaths, preferably in and out through your nose, get a sense as to whether your belly button is rising on the inhale and falling on the exhale. It should be rising on the inhale and falling on the exhale. If you find yourself in a position where you're breathing up higher and you're breathing in sort of up and expanding into your neck and shoulders, you might find that your belly button falls down on the inhale. So that's a reciprocal breathing pattern, and that's something that can be practiced and worked on to change. So just to review, how I'd like you to sense it is to have, when you inhale, you create intra-abdominal pressure and the belly button would rise. There would also be pressure out to the sides, into the back, into the hips and pelvis and privates. And as you exhale and the belly button falls, everything in this whole area, the muscles recoil. So this is a great way to tone the pelvic floor. You don't have to add anything in particular. You don't have to draw the belly button in harder or squeeze the privates. That would be in another sort of scope of practice. So, but with the natural breath getting that deep, and with the exhale being long and recoiling, you're going to get some tone in through the pelvic floor. So that's a good thing. All right, so that's thanks for the attention to that little learning. We'll transition to hands and knees and go through some flexion extension of the back. Just take some time to connect your hands, spread your fingers, make sure you're not tenting up through your knuckles. See if you can just kind of work your hands into the floor, and then slowly start to round through your back, dropping the head down, pushing the floor away, getting a sense of that stretch. You can push your hands and knees away from each other, even tuck the toes, get a little stretch through your toes as well. And then softening the feet and rolling the front side down, inch by inch, vertebrae by vertebrae. Let's get some good flexion and extension cycles in. After your next cycle, we'll pop down onto the elbows in the Mackenzie position. Just take a little bit of time here to center the shoulders so you're not in a big shrug or fallen position. And then just slowly turn your head, get a little motion through the neck, turning the head left and right. Just gently, not forcing anything. Getting a sense of whether it's a little different turning one way or the other. And then what about some ear tilts? Ear to shoulder. Coming back to center, we'll go into some Mackenzie rolls. I bend one knee, lift that knee up and roll over and plant the foot. And then I'm going to come up onto my elbow. From here, I can just make sure my shoulder's not shrugged, so getting some strong strength through my shoulder. More neck mobility by turning down and looking at my elbow and up at my hand. You can do this 1 or 2 times and then roll back through and over to the other side. Okay, so you want to open up the hip, center the shoulder. I like to spread the fingers, open the hands. And just you get an opportunity for your whole body to move and shift a little bit through your hips, your upper back, your neck. Sometimes I think of different movements and how they differ from the ones you normally live in. So because of the way our society is, we're in a lot of sitting position, whether it's driving or working at the computer or watching a show. This is like the complete opposite of that, right? So you get like, okay, let's gift the body a little bit of this opening, anti-sitting kind of movement. Alrighty, we'll go from here to the bear and plank hold. And so coming back to hands and knees, find your best neutral back. So that's the middle ground of your flexion extension. Tuck the back toes and lift the knees off the floor a little bit. You can weight shift into your hands and then back into your feet. This would be a little rock of the weight. Make sure you're not just loading the base of your wrist. So as you come forward, connect with your fingers. See if you can distribute that weight a little differently. Taking a break when you need it, and then flipping the wrists up when, like when you need it. Like it could be, no, just like 5 breaths. It didn't have to be too long. I'm stretching my wrists by turning the palms up and just giving myself a little opportunity to deload them. And then you can do this again, either another bear or step back into a high arm plank. Okay, the difference here being you've got an opportunity to activate your hip muscles, squeeze them together a little bit, and then you can add the rock, the same thing as we did in the bear, this time rocking through the toes, and a little stretch through the heels and calves and into your fingers. 3 to 5 breaths, and then we'll take it into a half kneeling position. So supporting your down knee with padding if you need it. Freddie's looking good this morning. Thanks for joining. And just take some time to level out the hips. Stack the posture. We'll start with just pulsing the front knee over the midfoot and try to get the front heel in a place that you can get some good stretch through your heel and your knee, but without lifting, okay? Coming back up to your upright posture. As you're doing this, do the nasal deep breathing that we talked about. I have yet to figure out how to breathe through my nose and talk at the same time, so I can't do it, but you could just be in your zone. Nice slow breath cycles, trying to create some length in through the hip and slowly start to bring the foot out in a few different angles and continue to pulse the knee over the midfoot. You can go a little wider and even get a sense that you are trying to do the split. So you're trying to create some space in through the hips, just to a place that feels okay. Don't want to hurt yourself. You do get to that point where, okay, that's about the limit of what I can get to. Coming back to a place of balance, so not too close, but not too wide either. Just kind of get yourself back into that posture. And let's do a single arm shoulder cards from the down knee side. Okay, so now you're just going to take some time to slowly bring one arm forward, spreading the fingers. We're creating a message to our brain of how we can move our shoulder today. So later in the program, we have got some presses overhead, and you want to just see what's the range of motion? What workspace do you have? So as I come around to this point, I rotate my palm back. So this is internally rotating my shoulder. And just be mindful you're not getting it from moving your upright posture. You want the move to come from your shoulder complex. With your hand at your side, you can take a moment there and then bring the hand up through internal rotation to the small of your back. And then slowly rewind, continuing with this pace and with your breath cycles. Every day you do this, you're creating that message to your brain that you've got the movement, the range of motion, that you know, continually improves with this practice. All right, good. Let's switch sides. I've mentioned it in previous weeks, but these shoulder and hip CARs, which is the acronym for controlled articular, which is joint rotations, they really should be done slow. Slower than Sheila would like to go on most days, but I really do feel the benefit. And I understand from the learning the value of going slow. And hey, we want to have, you know, we want to restore as much movement and keep it for as long as we can. We never did this kind of training in the 80s or 70s earlier. Now we know better. That's why we're here. Okay, did you do the splits? Stretch out. Create some space in through the hips. Sink into it. One more, and then we'll come back and do our shoulder CAR on this side. So down knee side. Nice and slow. Spread the fingers. Go back to your breath. You got it. Don't move through pain. So come out of it and work around it. Good. Hand up the small of the back. Get tall again. Rewind. The more access you have to your joint, the stronger you can make yourself through that joint, right? The body, we load the shoulders, but we can only move and load and challenge our muscles in a range that we can access. So see how those dots all start to connect. Okay, back to the bear and plank. One more time through. So take some time to reestablish your neutral back, tuck the toes, lift the knees. You can add the rocks while you're breathing through those deep breath cycles. Three to five. You can come right off your wrists and add a little stretch this way by using your hand to pull different angles or the other side. So much of our loading is in wrist extension, so it's nice to counter that with a bit of flexion and then into your plank or another bear. You can have to hold, activate those hips, and or start a few rocks, get into your toes, keep your shoulders connected so there's no shrugging or falling to pieces. No falling to pieces. Okay, from here we're gonna go back to half kneeling and do the halo today. So with the halo, I'm taking a weight, either a kettlebell or a dumbbell. You can hold a dumbbell on its ends. You find your half kneeling position. Get the front foot to a place where you feel quite stable. You can tuck the back toe lightly, hinge back and pick up the weight, and then just make sure that you have control over what you've picked up, okay? As you go to the side, you don't want to lean to the side. As you go back, you don't want to lean back. So this works a lot of core muscles. Through circles each way, and I can change the down knee. So as an example, just so the visual always helps, if you lean to the side, then you would be stretching the sideways, but taking the weight over and not leaning to the side uses all the muscles in the side of your core box. So as you get more comfortable and confident with how this feels on your body, you can go a little heavier. I've got a 15-pound kettlebell, and it's a bit of work to get this around and to make sure that I'm not leaning back or to the sides. Looks good, everyone. Nice work. Okay, we're going to take it from here to lying on our back and work the ankles and knees. To say it almost once a day. This is my favorite part of the class. So I just take some time to lie and adjust my posture, my low back. Are you going to extend your non-working leg? The back side of the leg, the calf area, the hamstring area, as you extend the knee, depending on where you hold tension, you might need to work on backing the leg off so that you can fully extend the knee and get some length to all the tissues through the calf and through the hamstring. So about 5 of those. And spread the toes. If you keep the breath top of mind on the slower side, this sends a good message to the brain that this is not stressful, that we can get some more length into areas that we hold tension, okay? Starting to then focus just on the ankle. We'll go about 5 movements, finding the full end range, opening the toes. Slowly rotate the sole of the foot in and out with the toes towards the shin. Nice work on getting the leg in extension, everyone. Good. And then point the toes to the roof and try that same movement where you're swinging the sole of your foot in and out. And then some slow circles. Excellent. All right, let's switch it over to the other side. Take a moment to reconnect through the neck and back, non-working leg position. And then here we go. Fully extending, pushing the heel to the roof, drawing the toes down. Holding the leg in that lengthened position for then working on your ankle, spreading the toes, getting those end ranges of your ankle motion. Rolling the sole of the foot in and out. Point the toes, same thing. And then into your circles. Favorite part of the class is now over. Okay. Oh, okay. Now we'll take it to some sitting hip turns. So as you let the knees fall to one side, just take a moment to look the opposite way. I'm sitting with my hands behind me, just kind of trying to get a nice tall back, and then let the knees fall over to the other side. Getting a sense of whether one side is moving closer to the floor. I call this just making a map of where things are at today based on your activities through the week, or sometimes inability to have activity through the week can change things. Holding it over to one side, call this the 90-90 position. I'm just going to adjust myself so that about the 90-degree angle to the front knee and the back knee, and then taking some time to hinge my body forward. This is essentially working on the front hip, getting some space in the front hip as you turn the torso and lean into a forward position. You can press down between your knee and your heel into the floor. If it's particularly tight, you could hold it for a breath cycle or two, or you can pulse out of it and reset with a different angle to your torso. So this hip is an external rotation. You get a sense of how close your knee is to the floor. This is your internally rotated hip. You can pop down onto the elbow and check what access you can get through internal rotation. You can also try some of those presses between the knee and the foot down into the floor. And when I press down, I do feel a change in the front side of my hip tension. Check how that is. And coming back up and over to the other side, see if you can go hands-free and just adjust yourself into that 90-90 position again. And we'll do the same on this side. Don't forget the presses between the knee and the foot. I mentioned a couple times today about creating workspace. So the more range of motion or workspace we have, preparing our body for training, the more effective our training is going to be. So I think that's really exciting for, shall we say, the aging adult? Yes, okay. Because if we can get stronger with a certain amount of volume, but don't risk running the injury cycle of overtraining, too much weight, too much volume. Prepare the body properly and then get some adaptations with your training and get stronger over time. It's kind of how I see it. Okay, whoops, I forgot the presses down. Feel that stretch through the inside. Okay, let's go to frog rocks. So I take my knees wider than hips. Today I'm going to turn my toes out to start, both toes turned out. Find neutral back and start to sit the hips back. Trying not to round the back as I sit back, just going to a depth where I can keep a nice low back curve, neutral spine, your normal. This mimics a squat, but we wouldn't be squatting with our toes this far out. So now let's try toes flat. And you can try a few rocks that way. And then even turning the toes in as you sit back, you might feel a little bit of a different stretch through the front side of your ankle. A little stretch response. Coming back to whatever foot position feels really comfortable, let's add some neck turns. So as you sit back, turn and look over one shoulder. Be curious with your eyes and look at something so you get just a bit more out of your rotation. Or it can look just a little higher or a little further back. About 3 or 4 times per side with those neck turns. It's nice and gentle and moving the head slowly. We'll transition from this to our hip cars. Similar to shoulder cars, I'm going to ask you to go slow. I'm tucking my back toes, distributing the weight evenly between my hands. And then here I go with one knee, trying to circle through as much rotation as I can. This is hard. Hard not to weight shift Hard to go slow, using all the muscles in my hip. This is not just a hip circle. I am tracing where I can go with my hip. I'm just switching direction on the first side to get a sense of how slow I'm going. Watch you haven't lost your head posture. Bringing it back around. You can tell by my voice a little bit of uneasiness there that I'm working hard as I talk. Okay, resetting for side 2. Slow, slow, slow. Where can you go? Finishing off this circle, trying to stay focused. Good. Before we come to standing, I'm going to go into half kneeling position. Today, no weights required. Half kneeling then becomes a windmill. So I take my front foot and walk it a little wider, take my back foot and pivot it across the inside. So this has opened up a lot of space for me to hinge into my hips. We're going to take the top arm, the top knee arm, and you just simply tip. So if you sit and tip, you shouldn't feel like this is a side bend, right? Because it's really out my back spine from my tailbone right through here is not squishing. It's not shortening on one side. So with the windmill, you can tip, turn your head and look up. Make sure your shoulders aren't shrugged. Take a breath in and come back up. You could reset this by taking another breath and just walking your hand down to your knee and then out to where you're comfortable. You can weight shift over your hand, add some neck turn, look down, look up. Essentially, I'm cueing you to just play with this movement. Now I'm rocking back into my hips. Take a deep breath in and I'm coming back upright. Okay. 2 or 3 with the arm overhead like that is enough for a warm-up. Switching sides. You want to find that position again. So half kneeling, walk the front foot out, pivot the back foot, up knee arm. Okay. The first time I just tipped and put my arm out. And the second time I went, okay, let's see if I can slide my hand down my knee and then walk it out to a place where my back feels good. I've got lots of space to sit and then come over, weight shift. I'm taking load right through this line. My fingers on the floor are spread. Looking down, looking up. Feels pretty good. Then I sit back into my hip, take a breath in and come out of it. I'll do one more. Breathing in when you hinge is always a good idea because there's a bit more demand on your core and on your low back. So I usually take a full deep breath in and then come up. Don't worry if that seems like a lot to coordinate with breath, but you just want to make sure you feel safe and comfortable through the back. Okay, single leg balance reaches, first with body weight. So we come up to standing, make sure your space is safe. You can reach to a piece of furniture, a roller, or in the air. So we'll alternate sides. Take some time to set up the foot of your base leg, little bend in the knee. And then you're reaching the arms forward and that heel back. Take some time and hang out here if you've got a good balance going on. Otherwise, again, breath in and come back up. So you can use the breath to support your pelvis, your hip stability. Breath in, reach. I'm not breathing out completely. I'm keeping a little breath or bracing through my core. Fully extending this back knee, coming back up. If you start the balance reach with your arms overhead, it's a little harder. Got a longer lever. And remember, this is just practice. So don't get frustrated if your balance is a little challenged on any given day. Squat and press is next. Now this is a double press overhead. So for some whose shoulders might not be good with a double press overhead, you're going to have to modify and just make this a squat. But if you've got it and you've got weights that work for a double overhead press, you can squat, stop, press, stop. I want to say 6, 8, 10 repetitions, modifying based on what your goals are today, right? If it's just movement, training, getting the work done, and it's, easy, medium, then go for a higher rep range, 8 to 10. If this is heavy and you're really working on getting some adaptation in your neck and shoulders, you don't want to get into your neck, but you do want to work your shoulders. That didn't come out right. But you want to go a little heavier and decrease the rep range. Okay, breathing in as I come down, find my good solid position to which pressing overhead. Very empowering move. Everybody looks great. Okay, so finishing off your rep ranges with that. Next up, I'm going to a calf raise with a ball between my heels. Again, balance support or not. I check that my feet are straight. The heel is on, the ball is right at the back side of my feet between my heels. This one I could coordinate with breath and it would look like this. Breathe in with the heels on the floor. Exhale as you lift. Try to lengthen and connect through all of your toes. Light balance support, good. I'm up on my toes. Let go of the balance support. See if I can control it down. 6 to 10 of these. I have had a lot of foot history, and so I work hard at keeping my toes long and straight. If I really look at my toes, some on one foot are a bit more curled than the other, unless I'm really working to lengthen them. So you have to do a self-assessment, but everybody should not be having gripping curled toes. So try and think about that as you lengthen and connect them to the floor and then come up. I like going back to balance support sometimes because I can actually get into my small toes and try and bend those as well. Okay, so the counter stretch for all that toe extension is toe flexion. You can tuck your toes under and just roll your foot, bias it to the big toe and to the little toe. It's like, ooh, didn't know you were quite as tight there. And then the other side. And now we'll take into the last exercise, which is external rotation medley with the light band. I'll show with a light band and also show with weights. So here's palms up, feet side by side. I'm just checking the tension, the elbows bent. I'm feeling some work through my shoulder blades and armpits. Here's the medley, okay? It's not just here, open, open, open. It's pulses into different angles that feel okay, that get you strong in the backside, that don't drive up into your neck. So keep those shoulders relaxed. You can try some from a hinged position. And I'll just quickly grab my light weights. There's some 2-pound dumbbells, and you could opt to do this next time. You can see that there's still lots of leeway here. So both weights and band work good for that exercise. Okay, so let's go through this set again, starting with the balance. This time we're going to take a weight, unless you found that balance really challenging and you want to stick with the body weight reaches. Here's my 15-pound kettlebell. I'm taking the weight between both hands. I'm going to take that breath in and hinge, extending my right leg back. I'm going to alternate the legs and just see how it feels side to side. So from the tall standing position, I take a breath and then hinge. An external cue that sometimes makes this move a little better quality, shall I say, is can you get the heel to the wall behind you? So you're just kind of trying to sit that leg back. See how I've straightened out my knee and I kind of sunk into it a bit more. Get that heel to the wall behind you. Keep the shoulders and hips as square as you can. Having a look. Guys are good. Sometimes with the weight, you find you just don't have the control to go quite as far into a hinge as you do with body weight, and that's okay. Find a depth that you can control and come back up. Switch sides. With practice, this will become deeper and more steady. Stay safe. Stay within your wheelhouse of what you can get with the proper form, even if it's not too deep. Okay, back to the squat and double press. Find a footprint for the feet. Decide if you're going to press overhead. I am. I'm going to aim for 8 reps. How about you? 6, 8, 10. Here we go. Pull those weights back down. Don't let gravity just pull them down. Work it, work it, work it, work it. Now is the time where you can see whether I can count and talk at the same time. I hear multitasking's not good. Who knows? We try. I think this is 8. Whew. Okay, back to the calf raises. Did you use balance support? Much? A little for a few of these? Get those toes lengthened and connected. Exhale and come up. Little squeeze of the ball. If you have strong arches, you don't need to squeeze the ball too much. But if you have arches that are not so strong or collapsing or working with flatter feet than you used to, squeezing the ball and turning the soles of the feet inward. So this way as I squeeze. This helps to promote the smaller muscles in the feet and be really good for our long-term balance, gait, foundation of our posture. These exercises come from a functional podiatrist, Dr. Emily Splickel. So if you're interested in learning more about that, she has a lot of good content online. External rotation. Okay, I'll try this one with the weights the whole time this time. Palms are up, 2-pound weights, kind of like soup cans, but don't just stay here. Challenge your body, challenge the work range of motion that you can access. Stay safe. You could do some small pulses, some higher, some middle, some low, offset, a few from a hinge. Feels good. Very nice. Okay, we'll go into our hip hinge or deadlift, weighted if you like. A couple of options depending on what you have available to you. We're looking for a hip hinge, which is hips back, either with weights in your hands or a kettlebell deadlift from the floor. I'll give you a couple of options. I've got the kettlebell here. I'm going to lift it carefully, bring it into place. Sometimes you can't lift from the floor because you just can't get the hips back with a neutral back. You don't want to lift in a rounded or flexed position. So you might need to elevate your weight. If you can get down there, you're setting your shoulders away from your ears, taking that deep breath in and lifting up. Another breath in and control the lower. If you were tall, lifting from the floor, is not necessary. You can elevate on magazines or a box of some sort. Here's an option with two 10-pound dumbbells. I slide the weights down my thighs, my hips go back, taking that breath in, and exhale, come back up. The thing with, I see a few of you with the dumbbells, you can open your shoulders at the top. That's a nice little add that we can't do with the kettlebell. Everyone with the kettlebell looks good. This is your hip hinge or deadlift movement. Balance clock, heel to toe is next. So take a little balance break. I'm on one leg. I'm going to tap my heel at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2. When I come over to 3, I'm going to turn to my toe. And I'm just tapping. Better move forward. Balancing on one leg. And the last one, I take it across and do a little curtsy sit. Switching sides. Heel, 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 toe, 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 and then really getting into the hip as you come into a curtsy. Now, let's do it one more time per side. Add something if it wasn't hard enough. So it could be dip, dip, dip. See how I'm tracking my knee straight, but I'm getting a little bit more work through my leg, a lot more balance. Good. Other side. Dip, dip. Excellent. Lots going on here. Knees, hips, and balance. Let's go back to our deadlift today. Just do one more set together. Standing over my weight. Thinking about posture. Set the shoulders. Make sure there's no looseness in the shoulders, right? No matter what you're lifting, you don't want this to be loosey-goosey. Connect. Breathe in, lift. Another breath in, control down. So you change the breath to the imposed demand, making sure that your back doesn't overextend, so no supples and no rounding. If you can't get there, you need to change the height of the weight that you're lifting. Don't go all the way to the floor, that kind of thing. You guys look good. Hip-driven strength. 2 more to go today. We'll go into the bent over row. Finish off your reps. Don't let me rush you. Just trying to stay on point here with the bent over row. Again, I sit into a hinge position. Now I'm bringing my elbows up to my sides. I'm staying out of my neck, squeezing my shoulder blades together, and then lengthening those arms. Here we go. I would adjust the rep range the same way that we did the squat and press, 6, 8, 10. What are you looking for out of this training session? If you're going heavy, less reps, get some adaptation. Very nice. And then the last exercise is the one-sided carry. Now, in previous weeks with this program, I've been talking about lifting something that is similar to a suitcase. So, suitcase is on the outside. I sit back, carefully pick up the weight, trying not to twist, and I'm going to walk forward and back in my space, perhaps some side steps. I just saw my son take off for some traveling, and he's not packing a 50-pound suitcase. He's actually going with just a backpack and not even a big one, just a small day pack. 6 pairs of underwear. Is that too much information? Rolled totally very, very tight. Oh my goodness, that's minimalist traveling. He's got more in electronics than he does in clothes. All right, switch sides. Here we go. So when you're holding a weight on one side, you are fighting gravity. So this weight could be pulling me down. I'm not letting it. I'm trying to stay tall, keeping the shoulder connected. This has great overall core strength benefits. You guys, that wraps the program up for today. And in fact, like I said at the beginning, this whole program will change next week. So I'm excited for that. I look forward to seeing you then. Do the tape this week, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for growing a stronger version of yourself with me. Bye, everybody.